There's definitely an art when it comes to designing vehicles, and if you don't believe that, well, you haven't been behind the wheel of this particular model. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, I've been a true believer that designing vehicles isn't just on a whim, but definitely takes a little bit of craft, and you can see that over the evolution of vehicles. Some just don't make it, and others need to be in a gallery of art. What we have here is one such example, the 2017 Lexus ES350. Just to give you a little bit of my history, I do hold a 4-year degree, a bachelor's in fine arts, so I may not be a car designer, but at least know the arts and can try to apply it here. And where it starts for me is simply in the profile, the overall aerodynamics. Heck, this vehicle alone looks like it may have spent a decade really perfecting what we see. The nice body line sweeping down here. Now, is it starkly in contrast to the competition? Maybe not, but they've really balanced it quite nice in this vehicle, keeping the body lines nice and tight, really no voluptuousness to speak of. Everything nice and tight, and reminds me more of the Mona Lisa, really a silent beauty that just kind of stands there and wants to get your attention. What you also see is the body color all the way around, really mimicking even the snow we sit in, really even right down to the door handles, and just a little accent of some chrome, black pillars, and really all couples nicely with the black insert here on the roof. While the profile reminds me of the Mona Lisa and its silent beauty, the front end is definitely painted by Picasso with its abstractism and really just contrasts the profile I just mentioned. And it all starts right here with the grille warfare. Now, this is the grille we see across the family lineup, and it all kind of has an Art Deco, really Renaissance movement compared to the side that is, well, somewhat plain Jane. Once you sweep around here, this is definitely where the designing of cars and the artistry really comes in. And you can definitely tell it by the sweeping and the movement and the combination of colors and chrome. Now, what we see here is the chrome, of course, here, the dark grille, really coupled nicely with some chiseling. Heck, I don't even want to know what it costs to replace any of this front end. These headlights alone are just so menacing. Diving a little bit closer here at the headlights, the first thing you'll notice really is they have a blown glass-like feel. They alone should be in their own gallery of art because they're just so sculpted and refined. Now, while the competition is pretty much doing rectangles and maybe a little bit of sweeping, this stands out on its own. A lot of curves and really perfection that sets off this front end. Art is more than just beauty. It's more than just the exterior facade. It has to be deeper. There has to be meaning, has to be emotional connection. And for me, it all starts here at the door, the connectivity with the individual to the car. And how that starts as well with a smart key system. And what I like here on the Lexus is they do make it so much more of a connection, all starting with the hand. All you got to do is simply reach up here, set it between the handle, and it knows you're there, really allowing you to have that connection with the vehicle long before you climb inside. As you, of course, exit the vehicle, close the door, simply make a little touch here, and it locks back up. Now, security for any vehicle is always about keeping it nice and secure, but it also has to go to the fill-up area, something I always talk about, and Lexus does that well. One way they do it different, though, is it doesn't relate to the vehicle being locked, but instead has a button on the inside. You press that, and this opens right up. When you hang a piece of art on the wall, you don't have to worry about the backside because no one's going to see it. But for a sculpture like this, it's a 360 type of view, and the back end, well, is just as important. Now, what I like back here is they gave it just as much attention, really starting with the back taillights, really sweeping around. And these maybe are somewhat subdued compared to the front headlights, but even here on the side, really just a more blown glass kind of appeal. If you dive in tight, you can even see kind of an L shape right here, giving the implication that maybe that's an L-like logo for the Lexus. As for the chrome, again, they keep it somewhat subdued, but really across the back end to add a little bit more wow factor, the chrome takes a real big presence right across the middle. That's somewhat subtle Lexus emblem in here. Now, safety and security is paramount on any vehicle, and they deliver it back here, backup sensors, backup camera. Now, what I like on this vehicle again is the level of luxury right here on the rear hatch. Simply press a button and the rear hatch, even here for the sedan, will rise to the occasion. Once that's open, you're going to have decent cargo volume, just over 15 cubic feet, all with this very wide opening to give you quick access. Just like Alexander Calder needed some wind to get his stuff in motion, well, this needs a power plant, and what they deliver is a 3.5 liter V6 engine. Now it delivers around about 268 horses and 248 foot-pounds of torque. That's coupled with a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now what does all that mean? Well, this vehicle can get up and go around about 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds. Any piece of art has to measure the right size, because after all, it has to fit on the wall, or in this case, in the garage. And by these numbers, it comes in quite decently. Overall, around about 193 inches. Wheelbase fairly stretched at about 111. As for height, just under 5 feet, and well, just under 6 feet wide. Good numbers to definitely fit in a garage. I'm not positive, but I swear the Lexus designers went to the Frank Lloyd Wright School of Architecture, because when you climb inside, there's an extra level of detail that's unsurpassed. Now, what you'll see is really starting with the driver and front passenger seats, sculpted to perfection and extra support everywhere you look. Really, the quilting and the leathering all comes together quite nicely, all refined. And when you look at the dual tone of the overall leather, man, it just takes your breath away. When you look at the interior, it's hard to get past the dash because it truly takes your breath away. Nice LCD screen there, centered kind of in a cavernous niche with some sweeping lines, really taking your eye across the dash. Now the different materials really coupled nicely together with the wood accents, leather appointments, and maybe a little bit of brushed nickel there on the dash. Even an analog clock to take a little bit of old school. Instead of a touchscreen system, you're going to utilize a centralized knob that you're going to find on other luxury models. And really, this is really intuitive, allowing it to move in all directions with ease. And what that allows you to do is navigate the screen real simply. It's clicking into different spots, and I found it to be so much easier to use. Down low, centered on the dash, is pretty much all the controls that you'll need to memorize and, well, get used to. First off is really the entertainment system. Nice symmetric knobs on the left and right, this really being for power, that one being for tune. Really easy to use and relates to the screen up above. Everything else is really for climate setting, and those, again, really intuitive. Now, they got rid of knobs for the controls. There's no knobs here on this system. Instead, a lot of push button type of usage, really dialing in your specific setting and your fan speed, of course, really allowing each passenger and occupant to dial in their specific setting. Heated and cooled seats are expected on the ES350, and to find the controls, they're low here underneath the dash. Now, what I like is it's kind of a toggle switch to select your heat or cooled. Simply dial it over and it lets you know that it's on. Even better, different levels to definitely heat it up to the extreme or cool it down. When the latest snow blanketed the area, one thing that really came in handy was the heated steering wheel. Now, one thing to note, it definitely heats up, so the likelihood of leaving it on very long is slim, so make sure you turn it off when it gets too hot. Everything is so artistically done, even the place to rest your hand for the central control knob that, well, handles the operation on the LCD. You'll notice the leather support really allows your hand to be there all the time. Even the enter button is right where your thumb should place, and your other fingers control the knob, and even the buttons just barely a stretch away. If you want to get different driving feels, you don't have to look at the tach or speedometer, but simply change the mode here, either from econo, normal, or sport. Unlike some vehicles where you want to definitely get behind the wheel to find the best comfort, for the Lexus ES350, about anywhere is going to be the place to sit. Now, for legroom numbers, you're going to find around about 41 inches up front. For the second row, well, it only drops a mere inch to about 40 inches. What does that mean? Even for this bench-like styling back here, it's still darn comfortable. To help with the overall comfort in the second row, what you'll notice is the outer positions do have a captain's-like feel, and that quilted stitching we noted in the front. As for the center occupant, not too shabby, comes out just a hair compared to the others, but even better, there's no hump on the floor, so you have room for your feet. The glass roof is really evident when you climb inside and notice the two sunroofs that really give you a lot of light on the inside. Now, they are manually operated for the screen, but the front one does open to give you added airflow. Power can be found everywhere, specifically for moving the front seats, as well as the tilt and telescope operation for the steering wheel. For any piece of art, there can be those surprising features, and one such is the case for the ES350, and it is the positioning of certain buttons specifically for popping the trunk, popping the hood, and even the release for the gas. And that does for this edition of Road Warrior and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2017 Lexus ES350, a piece of art on four wheels, really getting your attention at every angle. Now again, the profile is somewhat subtle with a Mona Lisa silent beauty with the front end, more of a Picasso, really getting your attention, but all that couples together quite nicely with that Frank Lloyd Wright kind of interior, really the attention to detail, taking it to the next level. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.